And back here in the Northern Americas, Canadian retail sales jumped almost 5 times more than expected in May, marking the largest monthly increase in almost 3 years. Let's get all the details from Kristiaan Yeo, who is live at the Toronto Stock Exchange. Kristiaan.
Yes, Michelle, it was an amazing month, was May. Best month-on-month growth for 3 years here in Canada. Aside from a slight drop in appliance and electronics retail, most areas saw growth. Best performer by far, screeching ahead both in terms of month-on-month and year-on-year sales growth, was the auto industry. Driving Canada's retail sales into the fast lane in May, the auto sector surged ahead thanks to generous manufacturer discounts on new cars. Overall, the industry collected more than $9.2 billion, up more than 4% from the month before and almost 10% more than a year ago.
All the manufacturers came out very aggressive with their finance incentives, purchase finance incentives, and in doing so, drove a very aggressive retail environment.
Of course, when new cars are priced so competitively, it makes less sense to buy used. But sales of pre-owned vehicles have ramped up by almost the same pace. And while May's retail figures are cause for celebration on their own, it appears June was just as strong for the car industry. Analysts at auto consultants DesRosiers described last month as the best June yet in Canada, with more than 170,000 passenger vehicles sold.
I know I was caught off guard by how big June was. For us, we were up double digits over last June, and that's great. That's exciting.
After poor sales at the start of the year, car makers were forced to slash prices. And while sales have indeed spiked, there's concern that they'll slump again later in the year.
I think people are still skittish on the overall economy. Where are interest rates going? What are they locking into? What are gas prices at today? Where were they 6 months ago? Where will they be in 6 months? So I think there's still a fair amount of uncertainty out there.
So amazing figures for May, considering the perception of consumer shakiness that you saw there. If you take auto sales out of the equation, though, this sales growth in retail is unlikely to continue. We've had warnings from both the Bank of Montreal and the Bank of Canada that strikes in the construction industry in Quebec and the flooding we saw in Calgary is likely to dampen performance in June. So what was a spike in spring could well become a slowdown in the summer, Michelle.
So that potential slowdown aside, Kristiaan, personal debt is also becoming a bit of a problem in Canada. So are these retail figures perhaps suggesting that people are spending more because they're borrowing even more?
Well, borrowing is a huge problem here, so much so that the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, and the former Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mark Carney, both urged consumers to stop borrowing and start paying down their debts. Of course, there is a concern that if you reduce borrowing, you reduce spending. It's often a facilitator for spending. But in fact, Canadians are borrowing less now than they were at the start of the year. They're still borrowing about 160% of their disposable income. But it is going down and retail sales are going up. That's a delicious combination that the Bank of Canada will want to see more of, Michelle.
All right, well, maybe they will see just that. Kristiaan Yeo, as always, thank you. That's Kristiaan live in Toronto.